Hello. Today I'm going to be reading Chapter 10, Some Things Can't Be Erased. In Semester 2, I yelled at Mrs. Black. I was getting annoyed at Andale Tennant because he kept pinching me, even when I told him to stop. I moved several times after. She wouldn't let me sit in this one chair, so I told her to fudge off and I left the classroom. I slammed the door and Mr. Turnsicle came back from the washroom and said something, but I can't remember what it was. I went downstairs to the cafe and started writing notes for this book. Mr. Slick was sitting with a student in the cafeteria on the other side near Miss Joel's room. That room was where the girls' group and one of my old cooking classes would meet. He knew I was there, and once I entered the caf, I never got up to leave, and all I did was write. When the bell rang for lunch, Della came and sat down beside me. Mr. Turdsicle told me that Miss Vice Principal Rain said you were wandering the halls. I said I wasn't. I was sitting in the caf. How is that wandering the halls? He asked me. Why haven't you been cooperating with us in class? I said I don't know. I also said something else he didn't like. Then he left to go and get lunch. When the lunch line got shorter, Della and I both went to get lunch as well. In May and April 2013, I would skip woodshop to go to see Miss Grace, Mrs. Sade, and Mr. Slick. Aiden started visiting them first, so I thought it was okay to join them. But now, I don't think it was the best choice for me to have done that. I should have been a leader, not a follower. Sometimes I would see Louie and Oscar working in the kitchen while washing dishes, sweeping the floor, and cleaning up other stuff in the room as well. During lunch in May 2013, I would go upstairs to knock on Mr. Turtsicle's door, and then I would run away into the library. I would also smile at him when he turned and looked my way. When I sat at the second library door when it wasn't open, I used to bug him a lot when I was in his classes. I would laugh at him, try to diss him, or say something smart to embarrass him. He would even do those things back to me. But Mr. Turdsicle and I were never serious about it at first, but other students and staff thought we were. He would say I was like a toilet seat. Either I was up, happy, or down, sad. Mr. Turdsicle would laugh every time he would say that to me. Mrs. Black and I would just smile. Good times, good times. Where did those days go? Most of the time we weren't serious about it. And then suddenly it all turned dark. I met a new friend named Mitzi, the cat, on May 8, 2013, just outside Mr. Slick's cooking room outside of the school. Miss Grace told me about her, and I have loved Mitzi ever since. She will always remain my furry Panthers United friend. I always asked about Mitzi every time I would visit Miss Grace. Mitzi knows English, Spanish, and Portuguese. She is also gray and white, and she is so beautiful. On Tuesday, May 14, 2013, I was called down to the office to get mail. I got a response back from Dr. Mason, the Director of Education at the time. The office was happy about it, and I was too. I was so proud, and to this day I still am. I was passionate about Panthers United. I wanted to continue to experience all the benefits of that school, but unfortunately, the school board was unable to keep the school open any longer, which was terrible, but I also think it was a blessing and probably for the best. The school was so proud of me that they wanted to put my letter that I received into the yearbook, but they couldn't do that because the yearbook had already been sent in to be printed. So both my letter and his letter are in this novel, so I will share a few of the letters and stuff written that I believe are important for this book, but only 2 or so letters from the Director of Education was put into this novel because it was my first time writing him a letter, and I was so proud of my school. The letter I sent to him and the letter he sent back to me, I will forever be proud of, but the next letter was about trying to keep the school open for future students. In woodshop class, Dennis would do most of my work. And one time we were doing a project on one of the saw machines, I almost cut off his hand. He remembered that I had done that, but I don't really remember that at all until he told me a couple of years later. But he said it was his fault and not mine. But I got blamed for that. To be honest, I didn't really like working with those machines. I was afraid of them. That's why I never liked being in that class. Sorry, Dennis. I should have been paying more attention. I think this is what Mr. Louis was talking about during the parent and teacher interviews. On May 16, 2013, I was talking to Damon Hawk in Mr. Turdsickle's class. I was just being smart like always, but this time it got me into trouble. And I didn't think the teacher would react like how he did. Damon asked, "Sir, what are you doing for the summer?" I said, "Sweet fudge all." Mr. Turdsickle turned around and said to me and Della, "You are both kicked out of my class for the rest of the semester. You are both disgraces, and I'm going to talk to Principal Gates about your attitudes." I said, "Go and talk to the Principal Gates. He's in the hallway." I only said that because I saw him walk past the classroom. Della never said anything during that class. Della didn't know what was going on when he called us both disgraces. I said, "You're a disgrace," having no idea what it meant at the time. Mrs. Black turned around, looked at me, and said, "Stop." Mr. Turdsickle said to Della and me, You two have a lot of growing up to do." Okay, so it's okay for him to bully, degrade, and poop-talk his students, but it's not okay for the students to do it. Mr. Turdsickle got up and called us disgraces again. Then he left the room, disappearing for a few minutes. I saw him talking to Miss Payne. He came back into the classroom and called me a disgrace again. I sat up in my chair and said, "If you call me a disgrace again, I will get up and hit you." This was a promise, and I was willing to keep it. Even though I wouldn't do that, he never said that word or anything to Della and me for the rest of the class. I should have been more honest with him, but I didn't want to be judged. Thinking if I said the wrong things to him, telling him what's really on my mind, he would get mad and hate me even more for it. During fourth period class in woodshop, I had written on a piece of wood, "MC Wrinkles is a disgrace," because Mr. Turdsickle had called Della and I that word. Don't ask me what the MC initials stand for, because I don't remember. I think it's McWrinkles. I don't know. I also wrote his name, Mr. Turdsickle, and wrote words as if I was laughing at him. Then I asked Andy Valentino to take the piece of wood upstairs to the third floor to his classroom. Andy went up there and knocked on Mr. Turdsickle's door, and then he ran off. Aiden dared Andy to knock on his classroom door, and he did. Mr. Turdsickle opened his door and said, "Children." After that, he closed the door again. Mr. Turdsickle went into the library, yelling at Della and calling her to Mrs. Jane. "Your little princess wrote this." He got into a fight and argued with Della and Miss Jane. Then his class started fighting with each other. Della told me all about it after school. She got the full blame for what I did, even though she wasn't the one who did it. Don't you think the piece of wood would have given me away, since I was in the woodshop class and not Della? Should have skipped school that day. Maybe May 16th's bad event wouldn't have ever happened, and I should have just left that coffee where I got it, or had given it to a teacher that would have appreciated it more than he did. But the thing is, he wasn't the only person I bought coffee for. Bought Principal Gates one too. I think these were at different times during that year. I mean, this isn't mentioned, but I think I bought one for the sewing teacher as well. On May 16, 2013, or another day before the 23rd, I went into Principal Gates' office with Miss Avery to ask him a very simple question. "What are you doing for Panther's 50th anniversary?" He said, "I don't know. Maybe we should open a bar and raise money from that." I said, "Sounds good. You don't need money to celebrate the anniversary." He said, "Any other questions?" I said, "No." And he said, "Get out and stop staring at me." I wasn't even staring at him. I left his office and Miss Avery said, "Thanks for visiting." I said, "Whatever." Loud enough so they could both hear me, like I didn't care and it was a waste of time. And I know he heard me too. That is why I never went to visit or talk to him about anything during my 4 years at that school. I despised this man, probably just as much as Della hated Mr. Turdsickle. I picked up my bags on the bench and started walking towards the cooking room. I had tears in my eyes. And then when I went into the cooking room, I went to the doors to go outside in the kitchen and started crying. I told Miss Grace, and Mrs. Zaid what Principal Gates said. I was upset that he was rude and said that to me. "Aren't you supposed to look at someone when you're talking to them?" Of course, Miss Avery didn't stand up for me. I don't like Principal Gates, but he seemed to think differently. On May 17, 2013, the day of Keep Boston Beautiful, Mrs. Black and I were in the art room for the first period class. She asked me to go upstairs to talk to Mr. Turdsickle about the day before. To be honest, I didn't want any part of it, but I walked with her to the third floor anyway and stood by his classroom door. We talked, but I wished he had talked the day before, and he also wished me a happy birthday. And I went back to class. He had no idea about the mistake I made the day before, and I wish I hadn't done that at all. I wanted to tell him the truth about that I was the one who keyed his car, but the damage had already been done, and I couldn't take it back. But I just couldn't bring myself to tell him that it was me who keyed his car, because I was too afraid. But at the time I keyed his car, Aiden was with me. But I didn't key letters or names on his car. I only keyed some lines into the driver's door. So how would that have costed $750 in damages? This is my theory. I think Aiden went back to key the car after I did, when I went back to class or something like that. So when we left the car, I was the only one who keyed it at the time. But before I got suspended, someone else keyed it after I did. But I didn't see it happen. I didn't key Jason Sucks on the car either. I didn't even know that this happened until after I got suspended. And when the principal told my mom, I only knew about the lines that I keyed on the car. To this day, I still don't know who Jason is, and yes, Jason is the actual name of one of the students at the school, or he could be someone else entirely. But whoever he was, he is still unknown to me, because I don't think anyone by that name was ever in any of my classes, and if he was, I just didn't pay enough attention to everyone's names or to who everyone was, except my bullies, of course, and my friends. But if Mrs. Black had told me to talk to Mr. Turdsicle the day before, maybe I wouldn't have gone out to the parking lot to key his car. And my anger that day would have been gone before that mistake would have ever been made. Because as soon as I keyed the car, the anger I felt that day was gone. But as soon as I was done keying lines into the car, I instantly regretted it. And no, it's not Mrs. Black's fault for me keying the car. But I shouldn't have listened to Aiden when he dared me to key the car in the first place. I should have thought of a better way to get back at the teacher and should have spoken to him instead. But either way, I don't think this story would exist if I didn't do this. Maybe making this mistake was supposed to be part of my destiny, so I could help future generations of students and other people to not do what I did. And to also speak up and do what's right. To be a leader and not a follower. Do good, not bad. Be the best person you can be. Don't be a bully, be kind. Don't ignore it, listen. If you need help, don't be afraid to ask for it. Be brave, be courageous. But most importantly, be you. Don't worry about what other people think of you, because their opinion of you doesn't matter. To this day, I often wonder if the cameras in the back parking lot of the school worked or not. And if they didn't, how would they have proof it was me who keyed the car? And what about the other student who keyed that car? Was I the only one who got into trouble or told on it that time? I guess I'll never really know what happened after I was suspended, and if the cameras really worked or not. Soon, Miss Flower brought me a piece of cake because it was her birthday, as well as Elizabeth's and my birthday too. She gave me the piece of cake in the second floor hallway, and I accepted it. One of the cooking teachers, Mr. Joseph Spring, asked me about the cake and he wanted it, but he was only kidding. I put it into a baggie to take it home, and Ava ate it. Andale gave me birthday beads. He left bruises on my left arm, but he was kidding around. Although the punches hurt, the bruise was dark green, then became purple, and turned other colors too. This was also before the Keep Boston Beautiful event. I took pictures of the KBB event while a few students were also cleaning the yard. There wasn't much to do. Mr. Turdsicle walked around the school picking up garbage with Annabelle. I went with them to walk around the school too, while Audrey, Andale, and Mrs. Black were cleaning the school's yard, raking the leaves and cleaning up the dog poop on the grass. This was my last KBB with Panthers United. After cleaning up around the house that we signed up to clean, Mr. Turdsicle sat down beside me outside the school on the bench. I told him that I liked him for who he was, but I didn't want Della to know because she disliked him. Della knew that I liked him for who he was and because he was funny. I liked the stories that he always told in his classes. Della never showed up that day and skipped school with Aiden, her boyfriend at that time. Now he needs to get a life and stop hurting girls. I liked Mr. Turdsicle until the bullying with Della started, after she began going to his classes. What did Della see that I didn't? Did I miss something? Did I overlook something between those two? What happened to make her hate him while she was his student? Later, during that day, another teacher named Miss Iris, who taught English, took me to the main office, and she told Mrs. Tyler, the other secretaries, and Mrs. Collins that Andale had left bruises on my arm. I showed them the bruises because they were bad and gross. I told the office to let Principal Gates know that I didn't want him to suspend Andale. How sweet I was towards other students. Yet again, some of them continued bullying me. The only reason I was brought to the office in the first place is because Mrs. Iris saw the bruises when I walked past her in the hallway. On May 21st, 2013, Aiden, Andy, and I were wandering the hallway on the second and third floors. Mrs. Black caught us and said, "Don't roam the hallways and go back to class." I was always up there causing trouble. Mrs. Black asked me, "Why are you always up on the third floor?" I asked, "Just 'cause." Aiden, Andy, and I went back to the first floor, and Andy went straight to class. Aiden and I went back to the third floor after that. As I walked near Mr. Anderson's door, I saw Mrs. Black. She had a box of flowers in her hand. She saw me and disappeared into the library. Therefore, I pushed Aiden aside, took off to the second floor, and didn't go back to the third floor for the rest of the day. I walked around on the second floor while Aiden was talking to Miss Payne. Soon, Aiden and I finally went back to class, and the bell rang after that. And that is the end of chapter 10. I hope you enjoyed. Sorry about all the mix-ups of my speech and mispronouncing Mrs., Miss, and people's names on here. Let me know what you think.